All right, Coach, congratulations on wrapping up the UCF Challenge with a win. How do you think the team did going into this matchup after last night's loss?
Well, I think we had a pretty sour taste in our mouth after that, and again, not to take away from what Wake Forest did to us, and we could have easily folded. So there were actually a lot of positives to come away from that night, because we didn't have to have a third set, or beyond a third set. We put ourselves in position to extend the match. So I think there was plenty to build on, but some things that we let get away from us in our discipline and how we execute our game, how we approach it mentally, physically, and there was stuff left on the floor for us to get done. We focused on our productivity. We talk plenty, but now it's time to kind of put up and shut up, and that's really what our focus was today, is taking care of our side of the net, and I think we did that. I was really proud of how we bounced back from that. The game is about errors, right? And it's managing those errors. And we just had too many ups and downs. You beat a team 25-11, and then you turn around and, let that go. And so I think we talked a lot about that, but then at the end of the day, we said, we're done talking. Now it's time to execute. And I was super proud of how we finished a 4-match weekend. That's not easy to do. Okay, we knew that Alabama State, they are used to scheduling as tough as possible. They're used to winning their conference. That's a program that coach has implemented her culture and what they're about and how they play, that we knew that was not going to be easy. But I was really happy and pleased with how we took care of our side of the net.
And coming off of last night, you noticed an intensity right off the top. You could see the players wanted to get right at it.
For sure, yeah. I think there was an urgency that we were chomping at the bit. We said, hey, you're frustrated, but you can't go back, so make Alabama State pay for it.
Speaking of Ava Armour, obviously her growth here, 6 matches in, but at times she doesn't look like a freshman on the court here. Speak to her play, what you've seen so far.
Yeah, super proud of. She just takes direction so well, and as you saw, you have to keep it in perspective because she's been so effective for us. She's been a scorer, she's been a blocker, she's been a passer for us. She's contributed in so many ways. You had to dial it back a little bit and realize, oh my gosh, she's so early in her collegiate career that it was an opportunity for us to take her out in the back row again, and just rest her a little bit and bring that focus back to just 3 rotations. And I think we capitalized on Annika coming in and doing a very, very solid job, both passing and defensively for us, and taking a second ball when she had to, and covering when she had to, and just being a spark of energy, and let Ava rest, because you forget she's a freshman with how much she's done so far.
Speaking of sparks, you talked about how Lauren Clark has kind of provided you a spark off the bench as of late, but today we got to see her really throughout the game from start to finish. How would you assess her play today?
Yeah, I think Lauren got out of her own way and just played freely, and we knew we'd seen that all summer. And then kind of as it got closer to season, she started putting kind of some, admittedly so, I'm not saying anything she hasn't, talked about herself. She knows who she is as a player, and really started putting so much pressure on herself that she had to be perfect, and kind of had to dial it back a little bit and remind her it's a very imperfect game. And yeah, she really thrived. That's the Lauren that we know, and so it was good to see her just be free. And she got a big block there even at the end, and clamped on them. So I was really happy for her to see her just allow herself to play and be the competitor that she is. Talk about those big swings. I was like, you're trying to get a dent in the floor somewhere. I know you're doing that. And but we told her to keep swinging and not shy away from that. So happy to see that complete game for her.
Faced some adversity in that second set. Did you like the way the team responded and didn't let it get away and snowball?
For sure, because I think we didn't do that yesterday in those first 2 sets. And we talked about there's going to be highs and lows, but let's shrink a little bit how high and how low we get. And so I think we rode that wave a little bit, and there was that sense of urgency we talked about where we didn't let it slip through our fingers, and responded quickly.
What have you learned about this team maybe you didn't know going into this week in particular? Because you knew you were going to face some different challenges this week than you did last week. And now moving forward, what are some things you want to work on as you get ready for Florida State and beyond?
Yeah, how adaptable and how resilient we are. I think that speaks to the leadership that we have on this team. They don't allow them to kind of flounder too much internally and or get shook. I think our leaders are just as much vocal as they are leaders by example. And so I think it allays a lot of fears and lets everybody get their shoulders out of their ears and go, no. Our two middles tried to put the entire team on their back last night. And so it lets everybody kind of move forward and just focus on their role and not feel like anybody else has to carry any weight. And so I think that speaks to what you're asking.
When you have 4 matches in 4 days, right, you get different kinds of opponents, so you put them in different situations and just, that's good over the course of building for conference play in particular.
Oh, for
So
sure.
different things over 4 days.
Yeah, because even though they're different teams, we're going to have back-to-back nights where you may not be happy with the result. You may come away from a match that you thought was in your control and you have to and let it slip away, or for whatever reason it didn't go the way you wanted it to, and you have to turn around and, I mentioned this yesterday, have amnesia and move on and bounce back and make those adjustments, and it's still 0-0
Which
every
is
day.
different than in the AAC because you had that couple of day between.
Right.
matches.
Right. It's on one hand, we only have to prepare for one team, but they're still going to have an arsenal. They're still going to have the ability to adapt and play chess and other shots that they hadn't maybe even shown on the first night. So we're going to have to be adaptable. So I think I'm really pleased with how resilient we've been to be able to bounce back from yesterday and turn around and put that performance up together.
Emily Wilson got to show off her defensive chops today, leading the team in digs right there. I know we've talked about her offensively, taking up that main outside hitter position there, but talk about as far as how she's grown defensively, because McKenna, I know, did a lot of defense herself, and now Emily's kind of in that same position.
Right. Well, Emily came in, coming from one of the top clubs in the nation in training and ball control and sports performance in Illinois, and she had that. She had that in her arsenal. But what she talked about a few days ago was finding that confidence again and really trusting it. So we knew she had it. It's just finding that spark again and that ownership of you can do that. And so it's great to see her execute that. She puts herself in better positions than she had been, and getting stopped, getting her hands ready, and really allowing herself to read the game, because she does have an eye for it, and she definitely has put in the time and the reps in her upbringing. So with some great coaching, it's great to see her embrace that role, and even at the end when we took her out and then she just had to focus on the defense side of things, it's kind of nice for them to be able to lock in and go, okay, I'm on one side of the ball and I can do my job.
Last question. 2 weeks ago, it was natural to ask the post-McKenna Melville questions, and now 2 weeks later,
Sure.
this team is finding its own identity. You like to see that they're finding that identity on their own.
For sure. I think we spoke about it from day one, that our distribution is going to be very different, look very different than it has in the past. And so they were all in on that. There's not a selfish bone in that locker room. And that they don't have to have 25, 30 kills. They don't have to have 60 swings. They just have to be efficient. When they get their opportunity, they have to take care of the ball. It's a very unselfish team, and they are all in on that. And so that's really why we compete day in and day out, switch sides of the net. It's not a fixed lineup by any means, and we make them adaptable because they have to get used to quickly being next to a new person. Okay, this is how our style of play. Doesn't matter who it is. Okay, yeah, they're going to all have different strengths and nuances, but you better get used to it. And I think that's what allows us to just be able to move forward, and whoever's getting the ball is a knight.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Coach.